Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to the show. I'm Winston Chester. I'm glad you're here. Got a big show lined up. We'll get started. Our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center right there at Baldwin Road and Highway 77. It's going to be another warm one. It's going to be over 91 degrees today, low 79. Now, as always, this time of year, you want to be careful and watch out for these these afternoon thunderstorms that'll pop up all of a sudden. It's going to get lightning and all. So if you're out in the water, you know, take some shelter somewhere around big old trees and all. Get out from in the open and just sort of watch out for these afternoon thunderstorms. Florida leads the nation in lightning deaths, and I always want to be careful. I always think about these summer afternoons. I had our kids out at the beach the other day. I saw a storm way off, and they thought it was fine, but I brought them in. They didn't understand. I tried to explain to them, and they're still too young to understand the dangers of lightning. But we're going to just always impress upon kids and also my students too about lightning. So we'll talk more about that later. I just felt the urge this morning to say something about it. Now the water temperature is still at 83 degrees, so we're in good shape there. Let's take a look at our tide chart, brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn Funeral Home and Cemetery. And today we're looking at the 27th of June, good tide. We have a low tide at 12:23. The high tide at 12:23, and then a low tide at 10:15. Okay, we've got a 1.6 foot range there. And the weekend, looking at Saturday's tide, we don't have a lot of tidal flow Saturday or Sunday, but we have a strong tidal flow today. Now, take a look at our river readings. Our river readings, Apalachicola at Bluffstown, it's sort of dropping out a little bit. It's really in good shape. I've been over a couple of times last 3 or 4 days. It's looking good. 7 foot in Apalachicola at Bluffstown. And the Choctaw Caraville is starting to drop out as of today, or really this morning early. We're looking at a 4.5 reading right there, and the river's going to be in good shape. All right, now marine forecast is west-southwest now. It's picked up a little bit at 10 to 15, so we'll have a little bit of wind today. All right, that takes care of our marine weather and our overall weather, and we'll take our break and be right back. All right, welcome back, and welcome Captain Ken Paramore.
Good morning. How are you?
All right, Ken went fishing last night. We're going to talk about that later, but first, you had a good time, huh?
We did. It was nice out there last night.
We got some stuff later on that. But listen, scallop season is coming around. That's
Monday.
And we're talking about. I'm always talking about it all, but I want them to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. All these laws and everything, and the rules. Make sure we're all on the same page. So Ken, let's talk about.
Well, I guess you got a little bit of report that it's at least going to be hopefully as good as it was last year, and maybe more. So if there's a good scallop population, obviously there'll be a lot of people. And St. Joe Bay, you congregate hundreds, if not thousands, at times on a good day.
It's fascinating to see all those boats
trying to catch those little scallops swimming around. But
why do these people do that?
They're good to eat. And it's enjoyable. You know, people can take their kids. It's shallow water. Yeah. There's other stuff you can see, as you did in your show yesterday with the video. It's just the marine life and the the water's warm and it's just nice. But what happens when you put the numbers of people together in that kind of small spot, the potential for an issue or problems or people getting hurt obviously is heightened. So our part of that is boating safety and diver or snorkeler safety and keeping people safe and hoping that they be safe so everybody has a good time and it doesn't ruin their day, because a bad day on the water can ruin and can be life-changing sometimes for families. So as you know, the bag limits is what we enforce, and of course it's 10 gallons of scallops per vessel, and that would be if you have 5 people on the vessel. It's 2 gallons per person if you have less than that amount of people on the boat. So 2 people on board, 4 gallons, and
3 people can't get 2 bucketfuls.
No, a lot of people have the misconception that the max per boat is 10 gallons, regardless of the amount of people that you have. But if you have 4 people on board, you're going to have 8 gallons. So you really have to have 5 on board or more to have 10 gallons, and that's it. That's the boat limit, and that's per day. That's another thing. A lot of people have a tendency that want to fudge sometimes because, especially if the scallops are abundant, we have problems with double dipping.
Yeah.
In other words, they go out in the morning and they get 10 gallons and they go back to wherever, and then they come back and they go back and they get or try to get another 10. And maybe in some cases some people triple dip, I don't know, but we do have some undercover crews that will be down there on the water and watching the ramps and watching people, so that is a problem. And then there's the shucked limit, which is if you sit out there and shuck the meat, it's pints and half a gallon and all that. But dive flag, we have a dive flag awareness campaign going on now, currently this summer, and trying to step up enforcement of dive flags and the dive flag regulations of people running on plane too close to divers, too close to boats displaying the flag, and of course you get someone run over, it's not good. And so 300 feet, from a dive flag from a boat, it's not a no entry zone, but if you enter inside of that 300 feet, you need to be at idle speed or as slow as the boat can go and still maintain steerage. And divers need to do their part. I know you've mentioned before and seen it where somebody will put a dive flag up and the diver will be a half a mile away from the flag and keep going. And if you're a boater, obviously you don't want to run over somebody, but if the person is out there with his head underwater and all that you see is a snorkel and you're up on a plane running, it's a potential for disaster, and to avoid a collision, obviously, the driver's got to see and then take action. And sometimes it doesn't work that way, so divers need to do their part. The dive flags, as everyone probably knows by now, is the larger flag. I think it's 24 by 24 on the vessel, and then if you're snorkeling from land or snorkeling away from the larger one, those buoy flags that you can tow along, I think those are 12 inches by 12 inches. All the dive shops have them, the Walmarts have them, all the stores down there will have them. So dive flags are important and it protects everybody, particularly the ones in the water, but nobody down there wants to run over anybody else. So.
And the big thing, you just got to be careful. Just watch out.
Maintaining a proper lookout when you're underway. And really a good rule of thumb for that part of the world down there during that time is just motoring around that idle and going from spot to spot, and don't get up on plane or run really hard unless you're out in open water or somewhere.
And one thing maybe help us out this year, the opening season is on a Monday, and there may not be quite as many people as if it open on a weekend like it has been in the past, so Monday may not be quite as many people.
Right. However, 4th of July is Thursday.
And that's going to be
that will, some people will do an extended, they may start like Friday or Saturday this week and go all the way around through the 4th weekend. So it could be a long weekend down there.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
You're going to have a lot of guys working, I guess.
It will have everybody available to work. And obviously there's never enough. And,
I know. I would imagine now, personally, I just have I do not scallop on July 4th. I just never scallop on July 4th. We try to have enough up ready to eat by then, so we're going to really have our feast on the 4th.
Well, there'll be other people taking
There'll be a lot
spot.
of people out there, so really be careful then. We'll talk more about it as time goes on. But let's go ahead and take our break. Got a lot more information for you. Hi, welcome back. Sitting with Captain Ken Paramore, and the Ken's been working all day and then going fishing.
I did. I worked all day yesterday, and I changed gears and got on a boat about 6 o'clock.
We got to talk about your fishing trip. Take a look at this picture here, folks.
That's my son, Matt. Right before dark, we found a weed line about 7 miles off, and it was a pretty good weed line, and we saw some little dolphin jumping. We eased over to it, and he started throwing a little white jig underneath the weeds, and that's a nice bull dolphin.
That is a nice one.
He caught on a little white jig, gave him a good fight, did a lot of jumping, and I'd say it was probably 10 to 15 pound, which is a little large for this close in, and usually you get the peanuts or the schoolies, but he was tickled with that one.
Oh, so. I know it was. And also, y'all, you went snapper fishing, right?
We did. We went snapper fishing, and we just saw that weed line and went over to it, actually on the way out to the spot. And, of course, we limited on our 2. There was 3 of us on board, so we had 6 fish, 6 red snapper. and that was a nice consolation prize, that bull dolphin there. But go to show you never know out there, and this time of year. It was flat last night. The moon came up late, and we fished till almost 10 o'clock. So
yeah, you can see in the picture, it was flat. That really
it
nice.
was nice out there.
A lot of times night fishing is really a lot of fun.
Nice little breeze, and the guy I went with has a good boat, so it's comfortable, and we had a good time.
Cool. All right, now listen, speaking of snapper, we're about to wrap up our season in the federal waters, so let's go make sure everybody understands what's going on.
And it is confusing, I know, but Friday, which would be tomorrow, midnight, federal water snapper closes. So Saturday, there'll be no legal snapper fishing in federal waters.
Okay.
State waters inside 9 miles will remain open until July the 14th. So if, for instance, someone fishes state water snapper Saturday morning and wants to go out further for, let's say, beeliners or vermilion, either one you want to call them, you can't, and you have a box full of snapper, you can't do that.
Right.
You need to possess the snapper in state waters. And if you're going to go federal waters first to fish for another species, you need to do that first before you, and come back into state. Don't do it the other way, because federal will be closed. I understand the Coast Guard is going to be working it pretty diligently, as are we. And I understand they'll also be using some aircraft and patrolling that 9-mile line. So it's only going to be open in state waters from this weekend on. In another 2 weeks, we'll have snapper open.
And we got grouper coming up on
Gag
July.
will open the same day as we talked about scallops. Gag opens July 1, which a lot of people are looking forward to, because I know I released a big one the other day, and it was killer to do that.
We did too.
And his mouth was full of hooks, so I knew he'd gotten away from people before. Triggerfish still closed. Amberjack is closed until August. So the red snapper deal is just, we have a 2-week now. There is a hint and some talk that there's a stock assessment due out July the 17th, and the Gulf Council may consider a short or a small fall season.
Now that would be fun
for red
if
snapper.
they can do that. That would be outstanding.
I know the year that Deepwater Horizon was 2010 in that October, because we had so many days that were closed because of the oil spill deal. They opened in October, and it was a time when seas were great and the weather was cooler and the snapper fishing was good. So it was only a couple 3 weeks or whatever, but it was good to have that.
Well, that's outstanding. I know the big thing right now, we all watch the weather, but really the heat is bad too.
The heat is bad, and a lot of people going early and late. If there's a breeze out there, it's better. But even on the Navy base over there where our office is, they give announcements, and it's almost mid-morning now for the heat index, and they even tell the workers via PA system on the base that about the heat index and the potential for problems with heat.
Okay.
So it's something to be concerned with, the hydration and all that with people. But then maybe after we get the snapper done and the amberjack and the trigger will open back up, the beeliners will still be open, and then that'll get us into the fall.
Yeah. So we got a menu out there. We just got to just pick out the ones.
Just got to get those regulation books and stay on top of them.
Yeah. Now, you were telling me earlier before we came on the show, and we sort of switching over to freshwater now, about a sturgeon accident. I had not heard about this.
No, and I don't know enough about it yet to talk intelligently about it. However, I do know it happened. It happened last Saturday. It happened on Holmes Creek, and it was about 5 in the evening, and there was a family on a boat that got caught in a thunderstorm up there, and they were running, however you can run in Holmes Creek, but they were running up on a plane, and a sturgeon jumped, a sturgeon fish that you've shown on your show before, jumped and hit the occupants or the boat. The sturgeon fish hit the occupants of the boat, which happened to be 3 children, and I think there was a couple adults on board. But it knocked one of the children in the water, and and the father was able to retrieve that one. Actually, they were up under a tarp because it was raining so hard, but it hit one in the front of the boat, which was a 7-year-old boy, I understand. And he was life flighted to Pensacola with some critical or severe head trauma due to that sturgeon jump, and it's pretty tragic. I don't know his condition. I haven't heard anything about his condition since Monday. So I'm hoping and obviously praying that he's going to recover, but he was in critical condition, and it was a bad deal. So maybe it's we should say to people, of course, you can't predict when a sturgeon's going to jump in front of you when you're on a plane, and either the Choctawhatchee, the Apalachicola, and or now Holmes Creek.
Well, see, that's what surprised me when you said Holmes Creek. I expected in Choctawhatchee and the big river over there, but
I know it was in Holmes Creek.
Yeah.
And I guess it was a pretty good size one because of the what it did to the occupants when it brushed one of them, it knocked one out of the boat, and then the one in the boat that took the solid hit. 7-year-old boy with some head trauma. So not good.
Okay, well, we certainly hope he gets a lot better. Let's take our final break, and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to the show. It's Ken and I was here talking about how people hide stuff and all. We'll get to that, but first let's do our fishing game forecast for today. Brought to us by Mark Coward at Edgewater Beach Realty, 832-6000. Give Mark a call, and he can find whatever you're looking for in the real estate business. Look at our times at 4:24 to 6:24 this morning. Still got a little bit of time left there. And this afternoon, when it's nice and cool, about 4:50 till about 6:50. Good time to go this afternoon. Now let's talk about the cases. We always have some good cases, so we don't have enough time to talk about all of them.
But I did find one on our agency webpage that it kind of jumped at me the other day. Of course, it happened in the Miami-Dade area, but the message here is it shows how people are stealing from all of us. And we have a lobster season going to be coming up down that part of the world. Well, even up here if you're a diver, but there's the lobster season is just a couple of months out or less, and the sports season is usually late July. And our officers received some information about a boat, and they stopped a boat coming in from Miami-Dade down there to ramp, and they had 468 wrung lobster tails hidden on the boat.
What did they hide for or something?
Must have been compartments or coolers or whatever, but I think over half of them were undersized lobsters, and they probably robbed people's commercial fishermen's traps, and they probably taken this amount of lobster and selling them, because who needs that many lobster tails? So it goes to show you that somewhere in the state all the time there's somebody taking from us, and it's unfortunate, but that's the way they are, some of them down there.
That keeps you all busy, I know. So here locally now, what has happened here locally?
Locally, one of my undercover, we call them RPS, the Resource Protection Service that we have, is a group of plainclothes guys that work in the Panhandle. Officer Warren Walsingham was working up around Burnt Mill Creek the other afternoon, and a gentleman came in a kayak, and Warren was just standing around there acting like a fisherman and watching what was going on at that ramp up there. And the guy was acting really nervous around his kayak, and he seemed like he was in a hurry to leave, and he pulled the kayak up, and so Warren engaged him in some conversation, and the guy really didn't want to talk much. He was wanting to load and go. So he asked him if he caught anything. He said he caught a redfish. And so the guy was getting ready to leave, and Warren said, well, there's something not right. I better look into him a little deeper. So he identified himself, showed him his badge and his ID, and started checking his boat. And he found illegal redfish in the kayak, and the guys looking in the cooler, and there was a plastic bag in the cooler, and it had fish fillets in it. And he asked him what it was. He said it was cut bait. And so he took the fillet out of the bag, and it was a redfish fillet.
Yeah.
So the guy had kept a legal redfish. So this redfish that he filleted must have been either too big or too little, because why would you fillet one and put it in a bag? If it was legal size, he'd have just had his 2 redfish. So he had a hidden fillet, so he left there with some paperwork, and But you know, that's Burnt Mill Creek. So we go from 460 some odd rung lobster tails in one part of the state to somebody who's taken from us by catching and filleting either an undersized or oversized red, and up there it was probably undersized.
Yeah.
And you know, and hiding the fillets and leaving with them. So these people are stealing from all of us, and we have toll-free numbers. They're manned 24/7, so you can remain anonymous. You can get a reward. Our reward program has been in effect now for probably 20+ years, and it works.
It works. I know people have done that, and it's a good thing. As citizens, it's really our responsibility to protect all our resources, and I feel very strong about that. And like I said, we've got scallop season coming up next week, and I'm going to be looking out for them. If I see somebody with a lot more than most of us, you know, 90% of us are going to be doing the right thing. You always have a few crooks in there.
And some people get discouraged. They'll call us, and it may take an officer a long time to get there, or he's not in that area, and by the time he does show up, the people are gone. But, you know, it's still worth the phone call.
Yeah. And speaking of scallops now, let's get back to that. Here in Bay County, scallop season is closed. And we know scallops are out there. I've already had people call me and tell me, can we get scallops in St. Andrew Bay? We cannot.
Right. The only place it's open is east of the Mexico Beach Canal, all the way down through Steinhatchee and down through there in Dixie County. But
so I guarantee, you know, every weekend there's a big group of boats out there behind Shell Island. A lot of people just go boating, but there's going to be some people, and there's some scallops out there. If you see people picking them up, you call these guys and let them know.
And we've made cases over there in the last few years.
Yes, you have.
Of people, so.
And also down in the cove, some people get them off not too far from
Beach Drive, off Beach Drive, we've made cases in the past. They'll be walking along catching blue crabs and their scallops.
And hopefully, we're going to look at this study really close, and hopefully before long, they might give us a little, maybe a little mini season here in Bay County. Hopefully, that's what we're going to shoot for.
It's going to depend on our biologists and the count and all that, water quality.
So we'll keep, you leave them alone, let them keep growing and all. I think we'll have enough pretty soon to do that.
Right.
Ken, we run out of time, buddy.
Always.
Thanks so much. You going fishing again tonight?
I'm going in a half an hour.
Oh, half an hour. Okay, you're off today. Huh?
Yeah.
Hey, thank y'all for watching. You do something good for somebody today, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.